Stripe is an incredibly popular payment processing platform, but accountants know accounting for Stripe revenue can be very tricky. There's often tons of Stripe data, tons of transactions, and sorting through all the different fees and the refunds and the gross revenue can become a difficult and monotonous journal entry to post every month. In this video, we're going to show you how to use FinOptimal's app, Booker, to create and manage your Stripe journal entries in an incredibly efficient way using just one Google Sheet and one report from Stripe. You're going to start by pulling a report from Stripe. So head to the Balances section on the left-hand side menu, and then select Balance Report. The first thing you're going to do here is customize the date range, because in this example, we're going to show you how to run one report and update one tab for all of the activity. And the formulas we write are going to dynamically pull from that tab based on the time of year. So in this case, we're starting with October 1st. And you can set that day to be the first day of the first month that you are using Booker to account for Stripe revenue. And what you'll do is always have the date range set from that day to the present day. Again, you're going to want to pull all of the activity every month from that day to the present day. Then for the balance change from activity report, you'll want to download it. But before you export it, you'll want to set it to be all columns. Once the export is run, we're going to copy and paste that data into our Booker tab and get going on booking the journal entries. And what you're looking at here is a Booker, which is one of FinOptimal's many apps. And Booker is the easiest way to create and manage journal entries in QBO. You can think of it as a way to sync in a very smart way journal entries from a Google Sheet to QuickBooks. It avoids duplicates. It automatically validates your data. It lets you use formulas. And we're going to cover some of that as part of this video. And while this example is going to show you how to book Stripe revenue, you can also use this to do tons of other journal entries like loans or leases or payroll or allocations, anything you can think of. If you're using recurring entries right now, or you're manually posting journal entries, or you're importing journal entries, this is much easier to use, and it's much easier to review and audit later on. So the first thing we're going to do is just add a tab, and we suggest naming this Stripe Data. You can name it whatever you want, but keep in mind the formulas that we're going to share reference the tab name Stripe Data. You're going to copy and paste the data in, but make sure you paste it in column B, because we're going to add a column in column A to calculate what month these charges are for. And we're going to do that using an EO month formula. And throughout the video, I'm going to post each of the formulas that are being used, but we'll also share this file and a full guide of all of the formulas alongside this video. And this formula just helps us group all of the different dates in column C to the month that they occurred in, because we just want to book one journal entry each month to keep the books nice and neat. And it's also going to help us write one formula that we can use for every month, because it's going to reference this EO month column. Stay tuned for that. And we're going to book a journal line for each of the reporting categories that you'll see here. These are standard from Stripe. You got charges, fees, and refunds. And what we're going to do on the Booker tab is we're just going to use this notes field as a helper column. You can do this with Booker, which is one of the many advantages. This is literally just going to be there to help us write a formula to pull values that match the notes column to that appropriate column on the Stripe Data tab. We're going to use a combination of some ifs formulas here. And again, all of these are available for you to look at. But what we're doing is we're referencing specific columns that include things like the gross fees or the dates. And we're locking certain cells using that $ emoji for each of the cell references. And the reason we do that is we're going to want to carry these formulas across from left to right. So you're writing this formula one time each. And the way that we're helping you write it will ensure that you can literally just copy and paste the formula moving forward, and it'll always pick up the right information. We'll just tweak the fee formula slightly, because we've been referencing this gross column on the Stripe Data tab, and sometimes there is a fee in there. So what we need to do is modify the formula to make sure that we're adding back the values in column I so that this can calculate correctly. And while it's not required, a suggested step is adding in a check formula so that we know that we're actually booking everything on that report. And simply, we're going to sum the net charges in column J and reference the month to make sure we're pulling in the full value and then subtract the amount below. We want to make sure that this nets to 0, and if it doesn't, it's worth looking into further. We'll be able to easily select the accounts that these belong to. And in this case, we're going to use a sales account, a sales refund account, and a payment processing fees account. But for you, you can select whatever account those amounts are typically going to. However, we'll also need to add a fourth line, and this is going to be where the funds are coming to. We typically suggest using a dedicated account. In this case, we're calling it Stripe Bank, and this would be the bank account or the general ledger account where the cash amounts are received to. So by booking this, you'll be able to look and reconcile against this line item, and any differences may be the result of Stripe releasing those funds a day or two after they've actually been collected. But ultimately, this will be the journal entry that you will post. And like I mentioned earlier, you can very simply copy this formula across all of the columns from left to right to make sure that it is working every single month without you doing anything other than updating that Stripe data tab. You can optionally add some detail to the line description, and this is going to be the description of the journal entry in QuickBooks specifically for that line. You'll be able to use whatever you'd like to be the entry label. The entry label in Booker is the journal number in QuickBooks. So in this case, you can see that we've only added that label to those 4 rows, and we've left it off that check row. That means we will not be trying to post or sync any data for the check column. It is simply there to help us. Finally, we are going to use the customer name Stripe Customers, but you can make this whatever you'd like. We just don't like to post journal entries without a name associated with them. If we click that book button, this journal entry is going to post in seconds. We can click right into QBO. We can see the journal entry posted based on the information in our sheet. And the memo field is always pre-populated with a link right back to the Google Sheet. So if you're being reviewed or audited at any moment, you can quickly tell why this journal entry is here and where it came from. If you want to use this for your books or for your clients' books, all you need to do is go to FinOptimal.com and sign up. Subscribe to the Booker app, and there'll be a resource there for you to replicate this entire process in your books. It's never been easier to account for Stripe revenue in QuickBooks Online.